Watch the views. I'd take a guitar, no question, and I would pass the time. Wow, I would write lots of space-inspired music, no question.
Thank you for your time. Like I said, I've
All right.
seen you live quite a few times, going right back to the beginning, I think.
Oh,
Um,
wicked.
so yeah, it's nice to catch up. Obviously, your career's gone really well since I first saw you. We're going back to intimate venues in the next couple of weeks, over the next few weeks. What are you looking forward to about that?
Oh, it's the beauty of it is the sort of extreme. I think, we were just talking now about how there are mad filters that exist now on things like this, like Zoom and all throughout social media and stuff. You can make yourself one thing and the other, but you can always alter and sort of emphasize or change your reality. I love standing in a little room with a bunch of people and my acoustic guitar and sort of sharing that very intimate live experience where you can't really hide behind anything. I did it recently in London. I did 3 nights just to sort of say to any kind of super fans that wanted to come to this very intimate thing, um, here's where I'm at, like as an artist and as a human. These are what some of these songs are about. I played them lots of new songs, like I'm going to be doing when I go out and do these ones coming up with record stores. Um, it, it it's the kind of it's the leanest version of like
Yeah,
being an artist. Can you stand there and like really just do it? It's no wonder Springsteen, being the absolute juggernaut giant that he is, quite fancied after all those decades going to a 800 cap, which for him is obviously very tiny,
yeah,
Broadway theatre, and walking up there every night and sort of doing it so from the heart, and with his heart on his sleeve. Like it's all of that. It's so earnest. It's so exciting, by the way, because even down to the detail of things going a bit wrong, it can be endearing. It can be so connecting.
yeah.
So I'm excited about it for all those reasons. And one of those things is that it's so the opposite to having a big band behind you and making all that wonderful racket. It's nice to kind of do it so sort of without any help.
No, I need the pizzazz
uh,
about it.
it's nice to be sort of laid bare in that way, and just it's like training in a way as much as anything. And I've done it a few times lately, and I've got back into it recently. I even did a couple open mics recently, just
Wow.
to yeah, just to taste that again, because it's where I started. It's where this
Yeah,
is that way of performing is what I was sort of born from, and sort of as a performer, and what I sort of have grown from.
yeah. Okay, so I mean, like you talked about, obviously the new record's coming out in a few weeks. There's a couple of singles out already. You've played a few new songs, like you said, at the small shows.
Yeah.
The singles we've heard, are they a good indication of the rest of the album?
Yeah, I think so. I think what you haven't heard yet is the sort of the gentler, more sort of intimate ballad kind of side to the music, because I always have that. I'll always want to be sort of a bit louder and a bit more kind of chaotic and raucous and noisy, and use a lot of guitars and big loud drums and all of that stuff, and lots of big backing vocals and really sort of stacked up, layered up sounds. But then I've also got, like, there's a song Speed Limit on this album, which is incredibly stripped down. Even on the drum kit,
Right.
uh, we used we wanted such a light sounding drum part that
Yeah,
none of the drumsticks were thin enough. So we used the chopsticks from a Chinese takeaway we'd had.
you're kidding.
No joke. And another thing about that, so the song is Speed Limit, yeah. And another thing about it, it I think, so I had an appointment to get to that afternoon, but I said with Gabe, who produced the album with me, said, let me just do like a scratch version, like a just kind of a rough for you guys to sort of work on the tempo and the drum sounds. And when I come back from my appointment, we'll do 10 takes, we'll do 20 takes, we'll do whatever we need to get into the sort of feel of the thing. And there was something so vulnerable, sorry, there was something so vulnerable about the take that I did, that we kept that one take, and there was only ever one take of that song, and it's a very
Right.
intimate, vulnerable song with these chopsticks on the drums, and it was just a really sort of raw way to uh, do a kind of a ballad type song, and so it was my first time doing something like that. So yeah, there's lots of different dynamics on the record, and you haven't heard all of them yet, by just based on the
Yeah.
first two singles.
Okay, brilliant. I mean, just on the album, I mean, you collaborated with some huge artists. I mean, how did they come about? Was that something you'd kind of thought about when you were planning the album,
Uh,
or?
there's two different sort of sides to halves to the answer to that question. On the one hand, certainly between myself and my sort of team, I've only done so much collaborating. I did something with Alicia Keys in 2018. I did something with the brilliant Julia Michaels in 2019. I've done some live collaboration stuff, but not so much on record. And we just sort of looked at each other, me and the team, and sort of went, it would be nice to see what else can be explored as far as collaboration goes. And I did lots of different versions of it on this album. I've written with such brilliant artists to write some of these songs. You know, Brandon Flowers is someone who, this is the other half of the answer to the question, is that having been doing this now for just over 10 years professionally, I've sort of built up some mates and connections, you know.
Yeah.
Brandon is somebody that I found out through a mutual friend was keen to write with younger artists, newer artists than
Okay.
himself. So I put my hand up and said, you know, let me get involved. And that was an exciting thing to do because he was brilliant, you know, very sort of easy to be around, but also, you know, it was like practicing free kicks with Beckham, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It was
absolutely.
like Beckham's a nice bloke. The experience was like, this is a really nice guy who's kind of the best of the best. So I'm going
Yeah,
to up my game as well.
yeah,
Um, you know, that's what it felt like. And then Holly Humberstone is somebody that I knew via my sort of management. We're all kind of closely connected. But I'm a genuine fan of Holly, I have to say. Her manager sent me some of her music, her first EP before it was even released. He said, "This is what Holly's going to be releasing soon," and it blew me away. So I've been a fan of her since before sort of day one. Um, and then you've got Noah Khan and the Lumineers joined me on Up All Night, the first single, and that was like we wrote and recorded the song, and it felt like a real sort of party kind of sound.
yeah,
And me and Gabe, you know, Gabe thought, wow, wouldn't it be great if you could sort of bring some artists in from your sort of community, your sort of lane, and share this with them because you know features and collaborations are more accepted and popular than ever before. I
yeah,
toured with Noah used to open up for me, believe it or not. So I toured with him, and I'd spent the two summers, 2022 and 2023, opening for the Lumineers around America.
yeah.
So these were now friends at this point who I could call up and invite, and they said yes. They were very kind to say yes.
Brilliant. I mean, that kind of leads into my next question. I mean, I think with the single, I think the way it was worded, it said it was described as the first together. Now, reading into that as I probably did, it would indicate that there's more plans in the pipeline to work together. Is that the case?
Oh,
Then is that something?
more to be honest, Graham, I'm manifesting it more than ever. The plans aren't quite there, but like we're all in touch, and we're all at the moment all busy with our own stuff. But it would I will say it very candidly, it would be my dream
Yeah,
to do a show, or maybe even a tour, or maybe even a record. Me, the Lumineers, and Noah. Like, I'm a fan of like Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. You know, I'm a fan of, and I know those guys are too. Like these combined forces of previous decades. I would love to do more with them. There isn't anything planned at the moment, but I'm almost going to talk like there is to see if I can talk it into reality.
yeah, that would be something very much worth looking forward
Thank
to. Um, in terms of that, I mean, you've worked with a wide breadth of artists. You know, you've toured like you
you.
said, you played with Bruce Springsteen, Noah
Yeah,
Kahan, the
yeah.
Lumineers, all of that. As an artist, what do you learn? What do you take away from that?
So many different things, so many nuanced things, and so many bigger sort of ideas. And you know, I think all of those guys, all of those experiences have shown me another sort of level that I want to reach.
Right.
Especially with the likes of Springsteen. And in 2018, I got up with the Rolling Stones. I was invited to open their show at Twickenham, which is a stadium they've played at a billion times. And but I was even invited that night to join them on stage for a song. And I just drink in the experience of being in front of that many people who are so
Yeah.
sort of adoring. And I not only do I watch that crowd reaction, but I watch the people I'm stood with on stage. And or in the case of Springsteen, I didn't join him on stage, but I watched. And I got to spend a minute with him backstage. And they're very centered people in their way. They let their larger than life parts, their extravagances sit at the surface because it is part of the show.
Yeah.
Uh, but they have something so sort of collected and focused
Yeah,
about their kind of aura and their presence. And I just try and kind of quietly experience that and learn from it. And when I go forward as the kind of the person center stage at my own shows and doing my own like promo or whatever, I think about those people that I spent time around.
yeah,
I think about how they carried themselves, and I try and at least reference it, because I have to be myself as well. But it's 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 just all a process of sort of learning.
yeah. I mean, there must have been a real pinch me moment where you thought, "Wow, is this really happening?"
Absolutely. I think that happens in hindsight as well. I remember no, not opening, sorry. I was invited in 2019 to be a part of Eric Clapton's Crossroads Festival, which is a charity event he puts on, brings lots of guitar players together to sort of show what they do and play to a big audience in an arena and raise money for he has a rehab center in Antigua.
Yeah.
And Eric Clapton's Layla, that record is the reason I picked up a guitar when I was 11 years old. I
Okay.
heard it and I heard it and I said to my dad, I have to learn how to do whatever that thing is, whatever that sound is. And when I went and played that event, it was the first time I met Eric Clapton, and he said to me, "Hey, thank you so much. It really means a lot that you made it." He wrote me a letter to invite me for a start, which was unbelievable to receive. And he said, he said, "Hey, stay in touch. I'll see you back in England," sort of thing. And we did stay in touch. So it's unbelievable that, it's all
Yeah.
pinch me, massive pinch me moments.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of your ultimate collaboration, then who would that be with?
Oh, ultimate collaboration. There's more than one answer. I can't give you just one.
I'll
In
let you
many,
have.
in many respects, so she's not with us anymore, sadly. But I think if I could just sit and strum while Aretha Franklin sang,
Right.
that would be my ultimate. That would be my if I could just sit and play. By the way, Aretha Franklin is maybe not quite as recognized as she should be as an unbelievable piano player,
Right.
or if, she certainly was. Sorry, so if she could sit there at a grand piano and I could sort of strum along and she could belt something out, then that's all the collaboration I would need.
Do you think you'd sit and put the guitar down at some point, just sit there and watch?
Oh, 100%, 100%. Yeah, no, I would love to do that. I would love. But then, by the way, like, to answer your question again, like, because there's never one answer. Like, she's an ultimate collaboration. But I watch artists come through. There's a lad called McGee who
Right.
is who is an American fella. He's probably somewhere in his sort of early 20s, and he plays. He's such a wonderful guitar player and such a fascinating. He makes such amazing sounds. And I would just, yeah, he's somebody that I would love to get involved with.
Yeah.
Um, do something with him. And by the way, my other ultimate collaboration, to answer your question, is the supergroup. Me, Noah, and the Lumineers. It hasn't happened yet. We've shared a song, but I would love to do a record. I'd love to do a tour.
Brilliant. Okay. I mean, in terms of what you said then, you spoke about McGee. Is that something you'd like to do? I mean, you've had some incredible artists pass down their knowledge and talent onto you. Is that something you'd like to do to new artists to kind of nurture them and support
Oh,
them?
I'm always open to chat. I'm always around to work together, to write together, to do something together. Yeah, definitely. I think I had some experiences of that when I was brand new, but I only had so many, and they were quite daunting. And I think I'd like to, if new artists sort of need, any kind of hang, then I'm around. Like, yeah, absolutely. I'm not closed off to that in the slightest.
Okay, brilliant. I mean, what just going on to the album then, there was a comment with the album that said you felt like it was your first taste of musical freedom. Could you kind of
I
expand on that a bit, or
Yeah,
what you
I
kind of?
will. I will expand on it. It's important. I feel it important that I said that, and I also am going to sort of yeah, edit it slightly and say I felt some sense as I've gone through albums one, two, and three. Album one is the sort of foundation, sort of start point, and then at album two and at album three, I pushed for a higher level each time of musical freedom, or at least a sense of musical freedom in the work and in the creating. So I'm supposed to be more specific about what I said and what I mean. I think I've sort of reached this higher level of musical freedom again. Uh, I was looking to allow myself, or even have the courage to be more vulnerable in the creation, in the writing, in the studio experience. And I was able to. I was able to. It's not easy to do that. It's very easy to sort of put on your armor, put on my sort of hat and my sort of persona, and go out into the world, even if that's out of my house and into the studio, and be the person that I think people would like me to be the
Right.
artist that I think people expect. It takes a lot more courage to access that 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 freeing feeling of not actually having to do that either, and to just purely be who I want to be and what I want to be musically. And I feel like on this record, I've reached that in a bigger way than I ever have before. And that's big thanks to Gabe Simon, who produced this record with me, um, for really helping me and encouraging me to get there. It took a lot to do that. And there's only so much I sort of want to say about it, but it was an emotional journey, and
Right.
he really helped. He was very invested. You know, some producers are, and some producers are sort of more or less, sorry, I should say, invested in the experience, sort of spiritually and emotionally. And he really kind of had his arm around my shoulder, but he pushed me as well,
Yeah.
to kind of go after the things I really wanted and the things I really wanted to say.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think is the one thing that'll surprise people most about this record?
Good question. Um, I started out, you know, with that reference I made earlier to Layla, the Eric Clapton record. Started out as a kid, like so many kids, in his bedroom with a guitar, playing riffs and learning solos late into the night. And so at my core, I am a guitar player.
Yeah.
I learned to write lyrics and I learned to sing. When I started singing, I was terrible. I used to sing sort of backing vocals in bands like rock bands, but I didn't. I had to work hard to get better, and I had to work hard to get better at guitar. But guitar was my original like passion,
Yeah.
and I've been able to get that across in these songs more than ever before. And Gabe really helped me sort of find the courage to write parts and guitar solos that feel relevant, but allow me to sort of reach that sense of freedom that I've been looking to have as a musician, and not just give everybody a very sort of straightforward verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, finish. You know, that's all vocal and no. There's room and time in this record where all that's happening is music, and I really wanted to get to that place.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, just before we finish off, taking it away from the interview, we do like a just for fun question. So something slightly a
Uh-huh.
bit different. Um,
Yeah,
if you had a choice, would you prefer to live underwater or in space? And which would you choose? And what would you do to pass the time?
that's a very difficult question to answer because there's something a bit frightening about both, isn't there? But like underwater or no, I'm going to go in space because ultimately, if some giant sea creature sort of comes local to me, like comes part, I don't really want to sort of risk that. I think if I've got the ability to breathe in space, I think the view would constantly be utterly unbelievable, like
Yeah.
utterly breathtaking. Not that there'll be those moments deep underwater where it might be a bit murky. You know, if I don't find Atlantis, I don't know
Yeah.
what I'm
You,
doing. I don't
yeah.
know what I'm doing down there. So
You're
I think
disappointed. Yeah.
space would be unreal. I think. What was your like, second part of that question? It was
Uh,
which one?
and how would you pass the time? But you said the views. I mean, you could sit and watch the views in space and just,
I'd sit
yeah.
and watch the views. I'd take a guitar, no question, and I would pass the time. Wow, I would write lots of space inspired music, no question.
You could jam with a man on the moon.
Yeah, I'd have a go on that. Maybe I'd try and write Space Oddity 2. See what Bowie's up to. You know. Yeah.
Perfect. Brilliant. Well, I think we've timed that perfectly. I mean, just to wrap up, thanks for your time.
No worries.
And good luck with the album and the
Thanks.
shows. Um, 2023 was a massive year. 24 got even bigger for you. You've had some massive collaborations, some massive gigs. You're going back to intimate gigs.
Yeah.
Tour in 2025 at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
What are your hopes for next year?
Uh, I really hope people like this new music live because I'm very excited to play it live. I'm also like hoping to sort of surprise people with some reinterpretations of older songs.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to sort of trying that out. I hope to sell a lot of tickets and I hope to do a lot of shows because that is my favorite. It's my favorite thing to do.